So I guess I want to ask you about your route to where you are now. You said you went to King's College, that you went to NSCC for broadcasting, but as soon as you're done that, you still need to make a name for yourself, because anyone can go to school, get the degree and do that. But what do you think you did to almost separate yourself in order to be where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, a certain level of it's probably hard work, and another level is just getting, you get lucky, right? I think that things break your way, and I think that, that kind of worked out for me after. So basically, the way that the NSCC program, the program works is you're supposed to do like an internship after your first year. Like at the end of that first year, you do an internship. Then you're supposed to do a couple more in your second year, and I think that after heading into the end of, I guess at the end of my first year, I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I was thinking possibly radio, but I didn't have a plan. I wasn't 100% sold on an option or an outlet, and I hadn't got a lot of letters out there. But anyway, I guess I'm rambling here.
No, that's fine.
I ended up...
Can I interrupt you for a sec? How old were you when you were at that decision where you just didn't know?
25. I guess I was 25. Because I did a 4-year arts degree at the University of King's College, which I always like to say got me a great bartending job. It was
Where'd you bartend?
Political science and Canadian studies. I worked down at the casino for a few years, and actually, so I'm kind of getting off track here. But all of this to say that I ended up doing an internship at CTV, and after my first year, and it's kind of like the good luck and the hard work thing. I kind of showed up there every day with the suit and try to get there early, 7:00, roll in, 7:30, kind of, I was there before a lot of other people. And I think that people kind of noticed that. And I think I was a little bit older than some other interns that had probably been in there in the past as well. And maybe a little more mature, and kind of shut my mouth and only talk to people when I had something to contribute. But I did get a little bit lucky as well with a couple of scoops and story ideas that I had in like the first week. I had a couple of connections to, I guess, the Nova Scotia legislature, where I had worked as a page in university, and I had a few friends in media. And anyway, I just had a couple of really good story ideas that I was able to contribute at the morning meeting, and that kind of allowed me to be taken under the wing by a few senior reporters there. And after that first internship, they asked me to stick around and report. So I basically stuck around after that first year. I was halfway through the program, and I got to report full time, all summer before my second year. And I actually got offered like a job in Fredericton. They wanted me to be a VJ there.
What's a VJ?
Like a video journalist.
Okay.
Which is pretty much what everybody is right now at CTV. And there's been a lot of cuts, obviously, as you know. The media industry, it's not the easiest one to be in right now. But I decided to stick around here, and I went back to school, but continued to report full time, or to continue to report on the weekends while going to school full time, and still bartending 3 nights a week as well. So it was that second year of university was kind of a gong show. Our second year of that program was kind of a gong show for me. You
mentioned morning meetings. When I used to work, I hated morning meetings, but you just said that you took pride in them and loved sharing your ideas. What were those morning meetings about, and how did you give me an example of where you mentioned an idea and people are like, "Oh, Garreth, good job, wow!" Like, talk about that.
No, well, it's they were definitely at CTV at that time. It was probably like it still probably is like one of the most intense things that I've been a part of. They just kind of
the morning meetings?
We had the assistant news director there at the time, ran the meetings. Great guy, phenomenal guy. Peter Millette was his name. He was a former reporter, and he became the assistant news director. Just a real great guy, somebody that was very good to me when I was starting out there. But in this morning meeting, he was super intense. And when it's basically everybody's got to give their story. It's a pitch meeting. So you got to pitch your idea for the day.
How many people are in the room?
There were typically, how many reporters would be on? Probably, I mean, you're probably talking about 10 people maybe in that room. There's some producers, a dozen people maybe, plus the bureaus are on the line. The Sydney bureau, the Fredericton,
like on the
Moncton
phone
bureau.
Okay,
exactly.
yeah, sorry,
So exactly, yeah. So no, it was like this super competitive environment. You wanted to have a better idea than the next person, but also just really intense because you didn't want to have a crappy idea either and like have somebody laugh at you. So I that first summer that I was there, I woke up in a cold sweat at like 2-3 in the morning, like every
thinking
about
ideas,
night, thinking about and probably having like a kind of a panic attack.
No way.
Thinking about it, yeah. Like it was intense. It was intense, but you get more comfortable with that kind of thing after a while, and so it got a lot easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a pretty intense environment. Even like some of the reporters, there were a few other reporters there that were around my age that. Had been doing it for a few years. They still said the same things. It's always, this is intense. It's an intense thing. So, but no, that whole experience was awesome. So yeah, I guess I got pretty fortunate. I got to go back and finish up that program while also working on the weekends. So it was cool. Yeah, that was cool. And after that, I stuck around and worked a couple more years there at CTV.
One more question about the morning meetings. Do you remember a story that you pitched and everyone was like, "Holy shit, Garreth, that was a great story, great pitch"? Do you remember that one that?
Well, I think that that first week that I was there. That first week, I did have like a big pitch that Rick Grant, who is like a senior reporter. Again, another really great guy. He ended up doing the story, but it was a political story.
Okay.
It was it was a little bit of some greasy inter-party turmoil that I probably don't need to get into right now.
Words.
But I kind of anyway. I did get a bit of a tip on who was involved in this, and I was able to pitch that. And Rick turned out, a lot of people I think in the city knew about this, but he was kind of the only one that really went out and did the story.
Cool.
And it was he did a great job on it.
So have you always been a fan of hockey? Like throughout all of this going on, you're being a reporter, you're doing political stories. In the back of your mind, are you still going, maybe one day I will be a broadcaster for a hockey team around here? Was that always settling in the back of your mind or no?
Definitely. Yeah. I think that, there's, especially around here, there's not a super direct route to sports casting, right? I think that I always identified that you need to have some broadcasting experience, right? Like that for me, that was always important. I felt like if I could get some broadcasting experience, build up a little bit of credibility, I could then go out and try to just do some play-by-play or some kind of sportscasting on the side. Like I was fully prepared to volunteer for it. And that's kind of ultimately what happened, I guess. You do have a bit of a connection to my hockey play-by-play development and some of those early experiences. My first year at NSCC, it was like the first week we had an announcement made in one of the classes. David MacDonald was looking for a PA announcer and a DJ for the Halifax Lions games. This was 2009, 2010.
Was I on the team?
You were on the team. So
no way.
Yeah, and I kind of went into that thinking, you know what, maybe I can do this for a little bit, and then I'll try to convince this guy that we could try to get some play-by-play going or something.
How
like
did
that.
I not know this? I'm embarrassed right now. That's crazy.
It's okay. So I did some of the PA announcing. I did a lot of the DJ stuff. It's why the music was so bad at your games.
I don't even remember it, so that must mean it must.
There we go. It's pretty bad. But it turned out when I got there that there was already a guy doing some play-by-play.
Okay.
It was Bill McLean, who
he interviewed me a couple times. I remember him.
Yeah. So Bill, I think that you had Mavs on. I'm sure Mavs talked a lot about Bill, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but he was definitely like an early pioneer of webcasting and local sportscasting. He was a huge supporter of that. So he kind of already had the whole Halifax Lions thing taken care of, but I said, if there's a few games that you're not going to be able to make it to, I'd love to jump on there. So I did get to jump on to a couple of those calls. I took a buddy of mine from school who had also kind of volunteered for the PA DJ thing with the Lions, and he didn't have a great hockey background. He said, "I'll try to do the play-by-play, and Garreth, will you do the color commentary?" So we gave that a try. He really struggled the first period. I probably was not a great analyst either, but I did my best. I'm sure we were both pretty nervous, but he basically, after the first period, he said, "I'm not. This is not for me.
He just knew,
I can't do this." So I stuck around. I did it by myself the rest of the game, and I was like, you know what? This I'm sure the second period wasn't great, but by the third, you kind of get a little bit of a flow going, and so David ended up actually asking me to do a couple more tournaments. I think we did the 2010 Atlantic Major Midget Tournament out in St. Margaret's Bay, which was a blast. I think if you're starting out, that's a great way to do it, right? You don't really have time to sit there and think about the game you just did. You jump onto the next one, and as you're going, you're doing a tournament, you're doing four games in a day, 5 games in a day.
Me and Dudes did the Ice Jam the past 2 years.
Right.
That's how we're learning.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. I think it's like anything. The more reps you get in, you get a little bit more comfortable with it. So I guess that was kind of how I got my start doing play-by-play.